Mr. James Moses, who is retiring sort of again from Portland Public Schools after serving as an interim assistant principal of Deering High School for the past 2 years. Mr. Moses has served the Portland Public Schools on and off for the past 40 years. He served as an ed tech and teacher in Portland before moving on to be a very beloved and renowned social studies and alternative education teacher and director of school improvement in Bonnie Eagle, before returning to Portland Public Schools as assistant principal at Deering High School in 2009, where he served until his first retirement in 2015, and where he returned in 2019 when we asked him to help us shore up leadership at Deering during a leadership transition. Jim's commitment to supporting co-principals Dame and Ahmed has allowed them to develop their leadership practice over the past 2 years and allowed Deering High School to reestablish itself as one of Maine's premier high schools. Jim's wisdom, energy, and relentless positivity has been a steadying force for staff, students, and parents. For me, knowing that Jim was at Deering every day gave me confidence that the school was a safe and nurturing place for all of our students. Jim's wife, Louise, who's in the background somewhere over there, is also a longtime Portland Public Schools teacher and leader and now retiree. Together, they have 2 children and 4 grandchildren that they help to care for. Jim and his wife live on Fry Island, and he serves on the SAD6 school board representing the island. So Jim has a pretty busy schedule to return to after these past 2 years of service, but I also know that Jim is only a phone call away as an advisor, a colleague, and a friend. Jim, thank you for your incredible career, and especially for these past 2 years. We will never forget your willingness to step in and make this leadership transition at Deering successful. We wish you nothing but the best and look forward to giving you some time to pursue all of those other things that you love, including hopefully a couple rounds of golf. So thank you so much for everything that you've done for the Portland schools.
Thank you, Superintendent Botanera. I appreciate it. And it's been a wonderful 2 years. It's gone by very quickly, and I'm proud to have been a part of the transition team over at Deering with Co-Principal Dame and Dr. Ahmed and all of the staff at Deering. I will miss it, but I have also got some golf to catch up on. So thank you all.
Awesome. And I do want to point out that for Mr. Moses, we have this lovely remembrance of the Portland Public Schools, the painting of all of our schools. So Jim, I will drop this off for you tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
I see Ms. Thompson has her hand up. Ms. Thompson, go ahead, please.
I'm not going to roast you, Jim, I promise. I just want to thank you again. I've known you. I was just trying to calculate it 30 years ago when you were the amazing photographer at my wedding, and your sidekick, Louise, who I got to know very well. I just want to thank you for everything that you both have given to the Portland Public Schools. You're very special people, and you've done a lot. So thank you so much.
I also know Dr. Ahmed, did you want to say something?
Ms. Dame actually will speak for Deering.
I didn't see Miss Dame. There she is.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Allison Dame, one of the co-principals at Deering, and I'm so pleased to have this event because I've really been looking forward to a place to publicly honor and appreciate Mr. Moses. Jim has been an absolutely integral part of our team as we've navigated some challenging waters over the past 2 years, and we are stronger today in no small part because of his support and leadership. I probably wrote too many remarks, so I'm going to skip down to, I want to say that like when I came back from maternity leave and we had this sudden need for a new co-principal, I noticed immediately that when Mr. Moses came, students and staff both showed visible relief when they knew he was there. And echoing some things that Superintendent Botana said, there was just a trust that things were going to be okay. And I noted this and sort of wanted to figure out why this was. So I went about observing Jim, and I saw as he built one trustworthy relationship after another. So on the student side, what I observed was that this sounds like a cliche, but in Jim's case, it's truly the case that he never gives up on a student. And when he sees a student struggling, there's always going to be a two-sided question. What's going on with the student? And also, what are we doing as a school? And students picked up on this. In some cases, I could sort of see that it might be the first time the student was hearing, it might not be you, it might be us. And that was one of the ways that he built student trust. And I think drawing on his own challenges succeeding in a traditional classroom, and that came through loud and clear for the students, and it really made a difference. In terms of the staff, you know, Jim helps the trains run on time, and that's really important. Staff need to know that business is going to get done. But he also just sees the small things. Like he reminded us, Abdullahi and Allison, we better get the new teachers together and let's introduce them to the friendliest teachers in the school so they'll have some people to ask when they are too embarrassed to ask where the copier paper is. And these small things made a difference and really created a lot of trust among the staff. But I finally wanted to say that I was lucky enough to work with him in the office and also get to have countless conversations about schools and school leaderships and how schools change. And I won't take up your whole evening with everything I learned from those conversations, but I wanted to highlight one thing that I think will stick with me throughout my entire career. Jim liked to use a metaphor that we're often we need a whole new vehicle. But we go to the parts store and we get one or two new parts and we put them in and we replace those parts and we expect wholesale change. And of course, we never find wholesale change. So through this metaphor, we were able to develop a shorthand with each other. And sometimes if Mr. Moses was skeptical of an idea, he would turn to us and says, it sounds like a trip to the parts store for me, to me. So I think throughout my entire career, I'll remain inspired to do more in my work than to simply replace one widget with another widget, but to really work on that more foundational change. So finally, on a more personal note, Jim, I'm so grateful to have watched and observed your leadership, had your friendship, and watched you lead with such humor and humanity. I've enjoyed it very much, and I'll miss you. And I can't wait to visit Fry Island and continue to pick your brain as we work together for real and meaningful change for our students. So thank you so much.
All right, I see some hands up. So I'm going to start with Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jim, I wanted to express immense gratitude for your career and your time in service with Portland Public Schools. And just to say that sitting here reflecting on what Ms. Thompson shared, on having known you for such a long time, and then hearing Ms. Dane speak of the way that you created partnerships and a collaborative environment. In essence, what I'm hearing is that you were an integral part in creating community, in building community in Portland Public Schools. And I like metaphors too, and there's one that I use that I think applies to so many people throughout our district, and that's that as we move around and we meet people and we network and we create relationships, we're creating these webs of support. And we're carrying around this web, and everywhere that we touch, everyone that we interact with, we're handing off a piece of that web, and then we create these layers. And as a community, we hold each other together that way, and we try to prevent things from falling through the cracks of that web. And so the more that we jump around, the thicker that web gets. So with you, with 30 plus years of service, how much you've contributed to that web of support in this community. It's incredible, and I cannot begin to imagine what you've seen and the lives that you've touched and impacted in a positive way. So I'm immensely grateful for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Ms. Otuno, sorry.
That's all right. So I used, as some of you may know, so I went from being a teacher at Deering and then a new administrator at Lyman Moore. And when I was at Deering and Mr. Moses showed up, it was definitely there was definitely that sense that things were going to be taken care of and everything was okay. And I knew he was going to be there to support me and my students with whatever may come. And that was so reassuring and comforting. So I thank you for that. And then as I transitioned to being a new administrator, there are a couple of times where we had communication because there are issues that involved students at Moore and at Deering. And every time, I spoke to Jim, he was always just so comforting and supporting. And it just meant all the world. It made such a difference. So I just want to thank you for that. Thank you.
Mr. Superintendent, you're muted.
Again, thank you, Jim, for everything that you've given to this district. And, again, I hope we'll give you a little bit of time, but I know that our paths will cross again.